Hello everyone. As your inquiry project gets underway, I thought it might be helpful to start going through some of the guidelines so that as you narrow your topic and your focus, you know exactly what's going to be expected. You can find your guidelines. They are located in course documents, and I've got my edit mode off, so my folder should look very similar to yours. Go into Inquiry Project Materials, and you see here you have the rubric and guidelines as well as a peer review forum, and we'll look at that in just a minute. But for right now, go ahead and download the rubric and guidelines, and everything's all together for you here. You can see that you want the topic to be related to the multidimensional processes of literacy. If you were a little off base here when you submitted your topic, I gave you some feedback to hopefully push you in a direction. You're going to review literature, books, articles, anything that's been peer-reviewed to start gathering materials, doing some annotated bibliographies, all that fun stuff. Now, it does say that it needs to be primarily things published in the last 10 years. However, if you include seminal work, which I hope you do, most of that's going to be probably older than 10 years. For example, we were talking about Rosenblatt, and using that work, it's old. Her first papers were much older, so you would certainly want to include her earlier work as well as updated resources. You're going to write in APA format. As I mentioned a minute ago, you're going to have a writing partner who will provide you with some feedback, and we will choose partners and really get together and spend some time with one another on October 13th when we meet again face-to-face. So if you look down at the task overview, I think that might be most helpful as you begin your work. You'll have an introduction where you talk about the focus of your paper and why you selected that focus. You guys are going to have some interesting responses here. Some of you chose topics that you've been investigating for a while, so you're probably going to examine a new facet. And then others of you chose topics that were brand new to you, and it was just something you really wanted to investigate, so that should be pretty interesting. Next will be the research review, and this will be from all of the research, the articles, the books that you've read. You'll synthesize all that information, and that will be located in the research review. This will be about 5 pages, I would imagine. You'll want to use citations here, but you've been doing that in your posts, so you should be pretty familiar with that. You'll want to have different perspectives. So if you talk about the benefits of using digital literacy tools, you're going to also have to talk about where digital literacy tools can fall short, or the negative aspects of them. So make sure to present both sides of the argument. And then you'll do recommended practices, what research says is best practice, and then apply it to your own practice. Now that you've done all this research, or you've examined a new facet in research that you have been interested in for a while, how is this going to affect you? We don't want you to have to do busy work. When you do research, when you engage in this process, you want it to affect you and impact your teaching in some way. So that would be here. Then you'll conclude the paper, and then you'll have a reference and appendix. Here's some document guidelines that you might be interested in looking at. It just pretty much aligns with APA. Purdue's site can help you with that if you don't own a copy of the APA manual. I also have a copy of the manual here if you ever want to come by my office and look at it. The presentation and little mini conference that we're going to have, we'll do digitally. So we'll look at some screencasting equipment as the class progresses. We won't do too much with that right at the moment. And then you have your rubric at the back of the guidelines, and that just goes through what we were talking about and gives you more specific detail. I would read that on your own before you do too much work getting started. All right, I'm going to go back to where we were. and just pull up the peer review form real quickly. And like I said, we'll pay much more attention to this on October 13th when we meet again face-to-face. But you'll fill out the first part, and then you will switch with a partner. And the partner will use this as a guide to provide you with some feedback. You can see at the back where there's some extended response portions. So that's just a really brief overview on the inquiry project. Please, please, please ask questions, write them down, email them to me, call me, so that we can answer those as they come up. Thanks, guys. Have a good afternoon.